we don't communicate. Without the heart, our divine powers must diminish. She takes her divinity very seriously, and the loss weighs heavily on her. She tends to brood, and I fear she will do herself and others harm. You want to chide me. Why did I murder Nerevar? Why did I break my oath to Azura not to use Khagrenak's tools? Why did I cause others to suffer? Along with Lord Nerevar, and at his insistence, Almalexia, Sothasil and I swore before our god of oaths at the time, the Daedra Lord Azura, never to employ the tools of Khagrenak for any purpose. We broke our oaths. We turned our backs on the old gods. I still see no compelling reason to worship any of the Aedra or Daedra. But for the respect I held for Nerevar and the respect I held for myself, I should never have betrayed my oath. Of all my life's actions, I most regret that failure. When I was young like you, I was very impatient, so I will keep our business short. Then, later, there may be time for other things. First, I propose to remove my curse upon the Nerevarine, end the persecution of the dissident priests, and proclaim to all Morrowind that you are the incarnate and Nerevarine, the prophesied savior of Morrowind, and the last hope to withstand the menace of Dargo Thor and the Sixth House. These things I will do, whether you wish or not. Let's try again, shall we? I propose to give you an artifact called Wraithguard. You may accept the gift, then do with it as you will. I propose that you accept the responsibility of defeating Dargo Thor, and swearing an oath to that effect. You may give your oath, then keep it or break it as you like. First, will you accept Wraithguard as a gift? I'll take your maybe as a no. Then that concludes our interview. I hope it has not been an inconvenience. And if you change your mind, come back. Not very sensible, but very good. I was hoping for someone who would have no hesitations about making such an oath. You will now have a brief momentary sensation of time passing. Don't be alarmed. You are being taken out of time in order to avoid the unpleasant experience of learning how to use Wraithguard. It will be over before... A sensible response. Alas, I am not looking for someone sensible. I'm sorry. I'm afraid that you will not find Wraithguard of much use to you. For without your oath, I shall not teach you how to use it. So that concludes our interview. I hope it has not been an inconvenience. And if you change your mind, come back. Actually, I believe we finished our business. I will notify the temple that you are our champion. There shall be no more persecution of the dissident priests, and I hope both sides shall swiftly be reconciled. Now you are my guest. I am your host, and we have time for explanations, or counsel, or questions, or bitter recriminations, if you like. Or you may leave if you wish, as you wish. But I think before you leave, you should hear how to defeat Dargo Thor, and how you must use the artifact Wraithguard. Good. Sensible of you. And now will you give your oath, before all gods and men, before all spirits visible and invisible, before my honor and your honor, to to dedicate yourself and Wraithguard to the defeat and destruction of Dargo Thor, and the preservation of Morrowind and its people. I'm sorry. I'm afraid, then, that you will not find Wraithguard of much use to you. For without your oath, I shall not teach you how to use it. So that concludes our interview. I hope it has not been an inconvenience. And if you change your mind, come back. Let's see. You accepted an artifact called Wraithguard. Then, I propose that you accept the responsibility of defeating Dargo Thor and swearing an oath to that effect. You may give your oath, then keep it or break it as you like. So, will you give your oath before all gods and men, before all spirits visible and invisible, before my honor and your honor, to dedicate yourself and Wraithguard to the defeat and destruction of Dargo Thor and the preservation of Morrowind and its people? Next, I propose to surrender to you the power and responsibility of defeating Dargo Thor. You may choose to refuse. I will not compel you. You will receive the power as a gift in the form of an artifact called Wraithguard. You may accept the gift, then do with it as you will. You will receive the responsibility as an oath. You may give your oath, then keep it or break it as you like. First, will you accept Wraithguard as a gift?
There is a brief sensation of motion in total darkness, floating but without a sense of weight or direction.
You know it now. I will notify the temple that you are our champion. There shall be no more persecution of the dissident priests, and I hope both sides shall swiftly be reconciled. We have time for questions if you like, or you may leave as you wish. But I think there are at least two things you ought to know before you leave: how to use Wraithguard, and how to defeat Dargo Thor. Why did I cause others to suffer? I respect that question, and you for it. The most I can say is, I did the best I could, as I saw things. Can you, mortal, presume to judge the actions and motives of a god? But, because I need you, and you need me, I will make an accounting for my sins to you. But not now. Destroy Dargo Thor, and then we will discuss my sins. Then, perhaps, you will have earned the right to judge me. You need to know, where is Dargo Thor? What are Dargo Thor's plans? Who are Dargo Thor's servants? Who is Dargo Thor? What are Dargo Thor's powers? What is known about Dargo Thor's defenses? How can I prepare for battle against Dargo Thor? Who can help? Dargo Thor is winning because he is close to the source of power, Lorkhan's heart, and because he retains the passion of madness, while we have settled into the lonely and unrewarding posture of dogged dutifulness and perseverance. And finally, perhaps because he is stronger and smarter than we are, and his followers are more fervent and fanatical, I believe we were careless and complacent, and outwitted. And, in the matter of denying the Nerevarine, we were foolish. Dargo Thor is the former Lord High Counselor of House Dagoth. He was of Lord Nerevar's generation, older than we, and a mighty sorcerer and enchanter in life. In his sustained shadowy mortality, He appears to be a highly intelligent, severely deluded immortal monster with unparalleled supernatural abilities. He appears by turns lucid and deranged, compassionate and bestial, profoundly wise and profoundly disordered. In short, he is a mad god. He was a god, and now he's dead. If one can truly kill a god. Confer with the Ordinators and buoyant armigers garrisoning Ghost Gate for the latest information about the defenses of the citadels of Dargo Thor and his hard-white kin. We know nothing for sure, but we have learned much from interrogating Sixth House cultists and victims of dream compulsions, and from our study of Dargo Thor's actions. The Temple Scholars and Inquisitors have prepared a document, Dargo Thor's Plans, that summarizes what we know or suspect. Take this copy. It's also available in my library. Dargo Thor's Plans summarizes what we know or suspect. You have a copy. It's also available in my library. He is able to send his mind into the dreams of susceptible victims across vast distances. The victims are either swayed by his compulsions or driven mad. He also seems nearly invulnerable to physical and magical harm. His flesh and the flesh of his followers evolves towards a mutable, magical form. Dargo Thor and the highest ranks can control the distorted manifestations of their flesh. Lower ranks lose control of their bodies and become mindless, corpus monsters. Chief among his servants are his 7 brothers, the Ash Vampires, powerful heart-whites and cunning sorcerers of old. These creatures appear to die, but always are revived at the heart. Somehow Dargo Thor has conferred some portion of his immortality upon them, or perhaps they sustain themselves through more conventional sorcery. To defeat Dargo Thor, go to Red Mountain to recover the artifact Hammer Sunder from Gate Citadel Verminal. Then recover the artifact Blade Keening from Gate Citadel Odrosal. Then proceed with Great Guard, Sunder, and Keening to the Citadel of Dargo Thor. Within the Citadel, find the heart of Lorkhan. Use the 3 artifacts to sever Dargo Thor's connection to the heart, and he will be destroyed, and the blight ended on Morrowind. To destroy Dargo Thor, you must sever his connection with the heart of Lorkhan. To do this, strike the heart with the artifact Hammer Sunder once. Then, strike the heart more than once with the artifact Blade Keening. You must wear Wraithguard, because you cannot handle either Sunder or Keening unless you are wearing Wraithguard. That is the short, simple explanation. Here is the long, detailed explanation, written down for your convenience. Read it, study it, commit it to memory. I have given you a copy of my proposed plan. Read it, study it, commit it to memory. Almalexia, Sothasil and I gained our divine powers from the heart of Lorkhan, and now we no longer have access to the heart, so we must lose our divinity. I have always worn my divinity lightly. Fundamentally, I am not at all a serious person, and I will not miss it. I have tried to do what was necessary. I am afraid I have done some harm. I assure you, I will be quite content to be a mere mortal again, dedicated to my own amusement. existence. The sin of the Dwemer was the creation of a new god from the substance of a dead god, Lorkhan. That is also the sin for which we would destroy Dargo Thor. I hesitate to call it sin. More properly, call it destructive evil. The sin of the tribunal, however, is in the breaking of an oath to Azura to forbear from tapping the heart with Kargranak's tools, and in the folly of seeking to become gods. Breaking the oath was evil, becoming gods was folly. If we sinned, we have paid the price. You want to know, why did I wage war on the Nerevarine? Why did I try to suppress the Apocrypha? Why did I persecute the dissident priests? Why is Dargo Thor winning the war? How does the tribunal fight Dargo Thor? What are Wraithguard's powers? That is very sad. I presume Almalexia killed Sothasil. I thought she might harm me. And I presume she tried to kill you, Nerevarine. It is all very sad, but death comes to all mortals, and we are all mortal now. In time, death will come to me, Nerevarine, perhaps even at your hands. It is futile to deny one's fate, but nonetheless, I'm afraid I find it all very, very sad that it should end this way. Something that began in such glory and noble promise. I expected you. We have business, you and I. I see you know something that you choose not to say. That's your right. And perhaps I do not have to be a prophet to imagine what it is that you do not say, Nerevarine. There are many blighted beasts and horrors that have survived and must be hunted down and destroyed. There are lesser monsters and villains of all kinds who prey upon the people. There are unsolved mysteries and legendary treasures undiscovered. I'm sure you will find much to occupy you. We did not murder Nerevar. The legend that we murdered Nerevar comes from a story told by a shield companion to Nerevar, Alandro Sol, who lived among the Ashlanders. The Ashlanders have retained Alandro Sol's account as part of their oral histories. The account is persuasive in some details, implausible in others, and is in any case false. I have 2 accounts of Nerevar's death here in my library. Read them and judge for yourself. I want your trust and willing cooperation, so I've had the priest make copies of a number of documents. They're here for you to read or take with you. Take a look at them. Help yourself. I love the people of Morrowind. I became a god to make their lives more comfortable and secure. I am most close to my faithful followers. I am literally in their hearts and minds. I feel the most sympathy with House Radoran. They are Dunmer, driven by creeds and deeds like I am. House Indoril is closer to the compassion and sympathy of Almalexia, a comfortable and secure serenity. House Telvanni matches the disposition of my brother Sothasil, iconoclastic, profane, unconventional. House Halalu represents the future of the Dunmer, integrated into the sophisticated mainstream of the traditionless, raceless, godless culture of the Empire. House Drez represents the past of pre-tribunal great house culture, a persistent tradition of Daedra and ancestor worshipping civilized Dunmer clans. And I even love the Ashlanders for their preservation of the most ancient barbarian tribal traditions of the Dunmer who first settled Morrowind. Suppression and persecution of dissent is just one of the standard tools of statecraft. I believe we erred in trusting the judgment of Beryl Sala. He and his ordinators served valiantly in the war against Dargo Thor. We mistook his misplaced zeal for energy and dedication. Mistakes were made, but no more. There shall be no more persecution of the dissident priests, and I hope both sides shall swiftly be reconciled. Prepare for war. Beyond the ghost fence there are no safe places, no allies. Stockpile resources, plan for retreat and replenishment, quest for artifacts of power. There is much to do. You still have Kagranak's tools, potent weapons, and the wit and experience of a proven hero. The Tribunal and the Temple are happy to you the duties of fighting the enemies of Morrowind. You are curious. What really happened at Red Mountain? What really happened to the Dwemer? What was the Dwemer's sin? What is it like to be a god? Do I remember being mortal? How do I feel about the people of Morrowind? There are still issues to be resolved between the Temple and the dissident priests, and now that our greatest enemy is gone, we must reorganize the Temple to meet the needs of the people. We have less need of ordinators, for example, and greater need of priests and healers and teachers. And we must find time to mourn and honor the dead. In my library, I have made available 2 conflicting accounts of the events of Red Mountain. My own true account and another false account common among the Ashlanders and preserved in the Apocrypha. I don't care whether you believe my account or not. I leave it up to you to judge which is true. I remember, I do not feel it. I can, if I choose, remember the feeling, but I do not choose. It is very, very sad being mortal. There is happiness, yes, but mostly sadness. As I have said, count only the happy hours. For mortals, they are all too few. But for gods, for me, there is no more feeling, only knowing. Not quite no more feeling. I still want to win. I want to defeat Dargo Thor. Perhaps I have lost the feeling for the people, for their suffering. I don't want that feeling. It is no use to me. That is no longer what matters to me. I only want not to lose. To lose would be very, very bitter. Without the power of the heart, our divine powers diminish. Our days as gods are numbered. I have told my priests that I shall withdraw from the world, and that the temple should be prepared for a change. We may be honored no longer as gods, but as saints and heroes. And the temple will return to the faith of our forefathers, the worship of our ancestors, and the 3 good Daedra, Azura, Mephala, and Bhutia. The missions and traditions of the temple must continue, but without its living gods. I do not hear from him since our defeat at Red Mountain. Truly, I scarcely ever heard from him. He is completely self-absorbed. Like myself, without the heart, his divine powers will diminish, but I doubt he will notice the loss. He is fascinated by the hidden world and its mysteries, and I doubt he even notices us most of the time. Why did I suppress the Apocrypha? Because it was such an unfortunate mixture of truth, falsehood and speculation that I couldn't afford to manage the confused reaction of our faithful. Any doubt whatsoever weakened their faith, and we needed their faith to give us the power to maintain the ghost fence. In retrospect, perhaps we lost the faith of those we most needed while preserving the faith of the meek and indifferent. Perhaps a mistake was made. Who can say? The blight is gone and we have survived. Now we must dedicate ourselves to rebuilding the temple. And you must dedicate yourself to your responsibilities as protector of Morrowind. I have no idea what happened to the Dwemer. I have no sense of them in the timeless divine world outside of mortal time. And, in fact, if I did believe they existed, I would be in no hurry to make contact with them. They may, with some justice, hold the Dunmer race responsible for their fate. My intuition is that they are gone forever, and that is perfectly fine with me. It is a bit like being at once awake and asleep. Awake, I am here with you, thinking and talking. Asleep, I am very, very busy. Perhaps for other gods, the completely immortal ones, it is only like that being asleep, out of time. Me, I exist at once inside of time and outside of it. It is like being a juggler. Things are always moving, and you learn to know where they are without even thinking about it. Only there are many, many things moving. And sometimes, like any juggler, you drop something. I'm afraid it has become a lot more a matter of dropping things lately. There's too much to do, and not enough time, and I'm losing my touch. Perhaps I'm growing old. It's nice never being dead too. When I die in the world of time, then I'm completely asleep. I'm very much aware that all I have to do is choose to wake, and I'm alive again. Many times I have very deliberately tried to wait patiently, a very long, long time, before choosing to wake up. And no matter how long it feels like I wait, it always appears, when I wake up, that no time has passed at all. That is the God place. The place out of time, where everything is always happening, all at once. In the past, the Tribunal made seasonal campaigns to Red Mountain. We slew Dargo Thor and his kin, though the Heart always revived them in time. Later, when we realized we couldn't destroy them, we created the Ghost Fence to contain the threat. These solutions were effective until Dargo Thor ambushed us and captured Sunder and Keening. Since that time, our fortunes have waned as his increased. Why did I try to kill you? Because you threatened the faith of my followers, and I needed their faith to hold back the darkness. And I thought you were my enemy, a pawn of the subtle Daedra Lord Azura, or a pawn of Emperor Uriel Septim, or a simple fraud, perhaps a hero, but not much of one if my faithful could destroy you. Now circumstances are altered. I need you, and you need me. Was there something else? We have lost our divine powers, but not altogether. Some token of the people's faith remains, and we shall dedicate it to rebuilding the temple. Now that Dargo Thor is gone, we can turn our energies to the more humble needs of the people. It is good, honest work, and I believe there is redemption in it. Dargo Thor has never ventured out of the Heart Chamber, the place on the Red Mountain where the heart of Lorkhan lies. It is there, or nearby, that he is constructing a new god, Khan, also known as Second Numidium. Ordinators and buoyant armigers stationed at Ghostgate have the most practical knowledge of the nightmare world inside the ghost fence. Seek them in my name for counsel and aid. Wraith Guard's primary function is to protect the wearer from the fatal energies of the artifacts Sunder and Keening. It also has minor protective enchantments against physical and magical damage that you may find useful. You have come uninvited. I have nothing to say to you.